Imagine a world-changing breakthrough that begins not with a roar but with a whisper, a discovery so subtle that most people would overlook it, yet so powerful it has the potential to redefine the very foundations of modern life. The story begins with a force invisible to the eye, a silent pull that binds our technologies together and fuels the beating heart of progress. Magnets, ever present yet rarely acknowledged, are the hidden architects of the modern world, shaping machines, powering grids, and connecting humanity in ways few ever stop to consider. They do not shout like engines or blaze like fire, but in their silence they hold dominion over the tools of civilization, their influence stretching from hospital wards to orbiting satellites. Imagine then for a moment what life would be without them. No smartphones lighting up in our palms, no electric cars humming down the streets, no MRI scans revealing the secrets within the human body, no servers carrying the lifeblood of the internet across continents. Wind turbines would stand frozen like dead giants, factories would stall, planes would lose their guidance, and the hum of modernity itself would fade into silence. Our dependence on magnets is complete, and yet it is fragile, for the magnets that run our world are built on rare earth elements that are expensive, environmentally devastating to mine, and perilously concentrated in just a few nations. A fracture in supply, a shift in politics, a dispute across borders, and the magnetic foundation of the global economy trembles. For decades, scientists have dreamt of an alternative, a way to unshackle progress from the fragile grip of rare earths, to create magnets stronger, cleaner, and cheaper, crafted not from scarcity, but from abundance. It sounded like science fiction, a dream confined to sketches and whispers, until a quiet team in a modest lab at the University of Minnesota dared to defy the boundaries of physics. They were not chasing incremental improvement, not seeking a mere upgrade to existing designs, but aiming to rewrite the rules of magnetism itself. Their goal was audacious: to forge a magnet without rare earths, one powerful enough to rival, even surpass, the strongest that humanity had ever built, and to do so using materials so common they could be sourced from almost any corner of the earth. Iron and nitrogen, elements simple, cheap, and abundant, became their canvas, and with the precision of modern nanotechnology they began sculpting a masterpiece at the atomic scale. Every grain, every alignment of magnetic domains was engineered with unprecedented accuracy, layer by layer, until what emerged was something the world had never seen before. A magnet up to 10 times stronger than the finest rare earth magnets in existence, lighter, cleaner, endlessly scalable. It was not just a better magnet. It was a revolution waiting to unfold. With one breakthrough, the researchers had given birth to a company called Neuron Magnetics, and with it, a movement that promised to redefine energy, transportation, medicine, and technology. The implications were staggering. Electric vehicles, once limited by the weight and inefficiency of traditional motors, could be fitted with smaller, lighter engines that delivered more power and extended range. Wind turbines could spin in gentler breezes, drawing more energy from less motion, transforming even modest landscapes into renewable energy havens. Generators would run cooler, devices would shrink yet perform better, and industries from steelmaking to space exploration would see efficiency gains that ripple across the global economy. It enables entirely new ones, machines that once lived only in the imagination of dreamers, machines dismissed as pseudoscience or impossibility, now suddenly within reach. The echo of this breakthrough stirred something else, something older. It unearthed forgotten blueprints, dusty patents, and abandoned experiments from decades past, projects once ridiculed that may have simply been ahead of their time. Joseph Newman's motor, Howard Johnson's magnetic propulsion, countless devices built on ideas of perpetual motion and limitless energy, machines mocked, discarded, or buried under the weight of inadequate tools. But what if the flaw was never in the vision, but in the materials? What if the magnets of yesterday were too weak, too unstable, too insufficient? And what if today's new magnetic giants could breathe life into those designs once again? The whispers spread across forums and labs, engineers and tinkerers daring to ask whether forgotten inventions could be rebuilt, tested, and perhaps finally proven right. Imagine Joseph Newman's motor, its oversized coils humming with the pulse of magnets 10 times stronger, friction falling away, torque surging, power flowing in ways it never could before. Perhaps it would still fail. Perhaps the laws of physics would hold their ground, but perhaps not. For Newman, who passed believing in his dream, such a chance would have been vindication enough, proof that the limits were not in imagination, but in the materials of the time. Howard Johnson, decades earlier, had envisioned propulsion driven by magnets alone, no fuel, no wires, no batteries, just the elegant push and pull of permanent fields guiding motion endlessly. His rotor, carefully arranged with magnets along a track, spun but always slowed, stalled, and died. The magnets were not strong enough, not stable enough, their fields bleeding energy into the grind of friction and misalignment. But what if his track were rebuilt with Nyren's creations, magnets strong and stable enough to sustain motion far longer, reducing energy loss to the point where his vision could be tested anew? For decades, his dream was dismissed as fantasy, but today it can be re-examined with tools of unprecedented power. The revolution is not only industrial, it is philosophical. It forces us to reconsider what was once deemed impossible, to dust off the failures of the past and measure them again under the light of progress. And even if some dreams collapse again, even if perpetual motion remains unattainable, the very act of testing with better tools draws us closer to truth. This magnet, quiet and unassuming, may never headline like rockets or AI, but it could shape the future more profoundly than any spectacle. Because in its pull lies the power to reshape our energy systems, redefine efficiency, and reimagine the very machines that drive our civilization forward. This is only the beginning, the first tremor of a coming wave. What follows is a journey through not just invention, but reinvention, a rediscovery of old dreams armed with new strength. A magnet unlike any before, promising not only to change technology, but to change the way humanity dares to dream. The second chapter of this story begins not in the sterile silence of laboratories, but in the restless hum of a world hungry for change. Everywhere we look, industries are straining under the limits of energy, weight, cost, and inefficiency, and in every corner we see the possibility of reinvention through a force so simple, yet so transformative. The magnet, reborn stronger, lighter, and cleaner, is no longer just a component. It is a catalyst, and like all catalysts, its true power lies in the chain reactions it ignites. Consider first the electric car, the symbol of our transition to a greener tomorrow, a machine still chained to compromises in range, cost, and performance.
Its motors depend on rare earth magnets that drive up prices and weigh down innovation, but with a new generation of iron-nitrogen magnets, those limits fall away. Suddenly, a motor can be built smaller yet deliver greater torque, batteries last longer because less energy is wasted, and vehicles can accelerate with new speed while traveling farther on a single charge.
What once seemed a slow revolution accelerates, and the dream of affordable electric cars for every household edges closer to reality. Shift to the skies, where planes groan under the weight of engines and fuel, where aviation has long sought cleaner propulsion, but remained tethered to the physics of combustion.
Electric flight, once dismissed as impractical, finds a new ally in magnets 10 times stronger than before. Engines built with them can spin lighter propellers, generate more thrust per kilogram, and turn the impossible into the inevitable, reshaping the horizon of travel forever.
The winds themselves whisper of transformation as turbines stand taller and bolder, their blades capturing every breath of air and spinning it into power with unprecedented efficiency. Regions once thought too calm, too still, now become energy hubs. Fields once barren of potential, now awaken to the steady rhythm of clean electricity. And in the quiet heart of hospitals where lives depend on clarity, MRI machines grow smaller, sharper, and more affordable, their magnets no longer bound to the fragile chain of rare earths. Rural clinics, once excluded by cost, can now bring the miracle of imaging to villages far from city lights, democratizing healthcare in ways never before possible. The ripple spreads further still, touching smartphones that slip into thinner shells yet hold more power, laptops that run cooler while lasting longer, satellites that stabilize in orbit with less weight and more precision. This is the visible impact, but beneath it lies something deeper, a resurrection of imagination itself. For decades, humanity has dismissed bold designs, branding them fantasy, not because they lacked vision, but because the tools to realize them simply did not exist. Now those tools are here, and with them, the past awakens. Joseph Newman's great motor, long mocked as folly, could now be tested again, its coils driven by magnets so strong they might tip the balance between ridicule and revelation.
Howard Johnson's dream of propulsion through magnetic fields alone, a dream left to gather dust, could now be rebuilt not as a curiosity but as a serious challenge to the frontiers of engineering. Even the wildest sketches of perpetual motion, designs that taunted physics itself, gain a new stage, for only when tested with the right strength can their truth or falsehood be revealed. This is not the promise of miracles, but the promise of knowledge, of testing every boundary with sharper tools, of uncovering where human imagination falters and where it triumphs. The industrial impact grows like a wave, cascading from factory floors to global markets, lowering costs, raising efficiency, and shifting entire economies toward abundance. What happens when steel mills run with motors that waste less, when transport fleets consume less, when data centers draw more power from less input? The world tilts subtly at first, then decisively toward a new balance where the same effort yields greater return, where scarcity begins to give way to sufficiency. And in that shift lies something profound, the birth of possibilities not yet imagined, machines not yet drawn, dreams not yet spoken. Because when the basic building block of motion and energy becomes 10 times more powerful, the machines of tomorrow will not merely be better versions of today, they will be altogether new. Imagine spacecraft with engines compact yet mighty, carrying humanity further with less. Imagine robotics nimble and tireless, moving with grace and efficiency into every sector of life. Imagine factories retooled, homes reimagined, cities reshaped by devices that draw more from less, all made possible by the silent strength of a magnet, unseen but ever present. This is not just technology, it is philosophy, a redefinition of how we approach invention itself. It is a call to reconsider what was abandoned, to rebuild what was broken, to test again with new tools the visions that once seemed too bold. Some will fail again, perhaps most will, but some will rise, and in their rising they will change the course of our future. The story of the new magnet is thus not a single tale, but many woven across industries, across decades, across dreams buried and reborn. It is a reminder that progress often waits not on imagination but on the right tool, the right material, the right breakthrough, and when those appear, history bends. And so, as the world begins to awaken to the Neuron magnetics revolution, we must ask ourselves not whether this invention will matter, but how deeply, how widely, how permanently it will reshape the structures of life itself. For in this magnet lies not just the power to strengthen machines, but the power to strengthen imagination, to turn whispers into thunder, and to make the invisible force that has always been with us the herald of a new age.